Well, nice to meet you, Con. I can tell from your accent that you may be living in another country. Where are you located?
Yes, I'm living in the UK, but originally I'm from Romania.
Romania. Okay,
Yes.
great. Well, so let's talk about software. That's what we're here today. We'll talk about, I call my podcast Code Life Balance because it's partially about coding and it's partially about your life as a developer. And so I guess I could just start from the beginning. How long have you been working as a software engineer?
Oh, this is like a story from my young age. Basically, I started. But I towards coding. I started in my 20s, but I was curious since I was little, like for the hardware. I started with hardware first, right? And after that, we had the Windows, and I started to tackle those kind of things, and I started to reinstall Windows to see how it's working. I had issues, I tried to fix them, right?
Right.
And I was very curious about those. And from that point, I started to be more curious how they work. And hardware is linked with software, so they need to talk. And from that point, I started coding, and the journey began. And I'm happy about coding because it's something which you can create. It's like an art, I can say it, at least. It's beautiful, right? And gives you pleasure and feedback straight away. And besides the thing of creating stuff that can help society, yourself as an individual, for instance, for me, helps me a lot. Like since I have my daughter, I can build small apps for her, make her curious, explain, show the world in a different view, let's say, right, than the normal way. And it's beautiful. So basically, this is my transition towards the code.
Is your daughter old enough to understand what it is that you do?
Yes, she's 7 now.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I hopefully, I will be an inspiration for her. Basically, this is another reason for me doing this job and doing this for her, because in my opinion, this is the future, and all the youngsters, in my opinion, they need to code.
Reading the code.
Yes.
I've been saying the same thing for a long time. And in fact, I've got a couple of relatives. I have a brother-in-law, and actually one of my children went to a coding school. So this wasn't a full university, but it was beyond a coding camp. And I was really excited about it a couple of years ago, but now I'm starting to get concerned because there seems to be the industry is really slowing down. AI is changing a lot of things. So now I'm not as convinced that they're going to be able to come out of school and and find a job. But I'm hopeful that things will turn around in the industry. Right now, in the US, I'm finding that it's a pretty tough job market. Are you concerned about changes in AI and what the effect that will have on software engineers?
Yes, and I have a couple of them, because unfortunately, it's a misleading situation regarding the AI, because a lot of uncoders, unprofessional towards programming, right? They think they didn't understand programming anyway before AI. And now with the AI, they are thinking all of them, they are programmers, right? And the programmer is not like some guy who writes types, right? It's more logical things. And you need to use your brain. So AI, what I start to see, starts to put laziness in through the individuals, right? And they don't use the brain anymore. They just put an input, expect output, and that's it, copy paste. And that's not the way of doing things. So this will be a very problematic thing for now. But in the future, I think the boom will start to grow towards the specialized devs, because we will need to fix all those problems which are even now creating every day. Because a lot of non-programmers, they start to put code out there, uh, teach those large language models the wrong ways, and I think will be a big need of devs in the future. And hopefully the society and the employers will understand that and will not kick out all the devs because they have the AI now on the side, in my opinion.
Right. It's a very complicated time, and it's a complicated question, because on one hand, I think you're right. I think that right now, a lot of business owners are thinking, well, why am I paying software developers when I can just bring in a vibe coder who can do the same job? Or I've even seen folks who believe that, hey, I'll just get this $500 subscription and it'll take care of it. It's my whole, no, that's not going to work. But you can, it is likely that you can bring in a vibe coder who can show you something that appears to work. And maybe if you're very talented, you can make it work. However, I do think there's a lot of people out there right now who are making a mess of things because they don't actually have the experience to know how to manage the complexity that they're building. And you can build very quickly with LLMs. I've been using LLMs myself, even as a senior software dev, because I am enjoying the fact that I don't have to write as many lines of code, right? I can more or less be the architect and delegate to the LLMs. And some models are better than others. And of course, there's a lot of research that goes into that. But at the same time, I also wonder if I'm kidding myself. As I see how fast the LLMs are improving, I wonder if, within a couple of years, we really will be optional. I'm worried actually. I'm worried that a certain number of developers, now I don't know how many different developers you've worked with over the years, but I've worked on larger teams where a lot of the developers really didn't contribute much, but yet they had a job. And I think those guys are going to probably definitely, I got to decide which one of those. They're going to have issues, right?
Yes.
If you're highly productive, you'll still be able to move forward. I think if you're able to work on this technology, so I think that if you're actually know how to interface with these models and do some work there, I can't really say where the technology is going. So I'm not completely convinced that that we're safe, but I do think there will be work in the near term untangling the messes that are being created right now.
I'm totally agree. And what I can say, in my perspective and in my experience, I use the same to help me, like, instead of, I don't know, I don't remember something just in that moment. Instead of Googling, it's faster to ask, right? It's
Right.
like it's like the rubber duck system, right? But that's it. That's it. You should do the heavy lifting. You should do the thinking, even if you have an input, right? An output after that, you must to ask why, right? Always the why must to be there, and always you must figure it out. Uh, when you find out the why, how you put them together, and you build up your system, whatever it's a hello world application or a very sophisticated one. Always the dev should be the core. So people needs to understand that, basically, right? It's not a replacement of devs, should be an extension, right? Yes, it's like a superpower, right?
Right.
That's it. So will make us, so me, I will increase my development time, like, or I will reduce basically my, so instead of spending 10 hours, I will spend half maybe, but not like reduce that time basically, right? So not stay, I work like I'm working now like 12 hours, and after that I will work only 6, and after that I will take my break, go to sleep or whatever, right? No,
Right.
you should like evolve, right? So those, in my opinion, what how helps me is to learn faster. This is a plus. So I can find solution much faster. I think for something, and I'm fixing that thing almost instantly. Sometimes not, but helps you a lot of in the development process. But that's it. So it's for me, it's like myself clone 10 times, let's say. So depends of the language model you use, right? But
Right.
a lot of times I discovered they are very wrong, and you spend a lot of time debugging. So that's why you should know what you do. If you don't know what you do, that's a big boo-boo.
Yeah, I
Because
agree with that. You should know what you're doing. Um,
yes,
and if you don't, you should learn. Okay, so tell me a bit about the platform. What do you develop on? What's your dev environment like? You a Mac guy, a Linux guy, a Windows guy? You like doing
I'm
mobile applications?
I'm
What's your
universal, I can say. So I cover systems, so I do Linux. I cover web development, so I do Mac. And now I start towards Rust, so that I do like desktop applications. So, but not mobile. So not mobile because I'm covering that with the web. So besides mobile, I do everything else. I own my own server, so I try to detach myself from those easy things, let's say, but very expensive, right?
Mhm.
Platforms, clouds. I'm that guy who prefer to have his own because I like to have full control, access 100% over the entire system. So this mentality pushed me towards learning Linux. Um, for the web because I'm liking I like to create stuff. I do web development and I do application softwares and basically like I'm everywhere. And
Right.
I try to keep myself busy like that. And I think this is the way of doing if you want to survive in those days, right? And that's why I said earlier there are those large language models are a helper and not a replacement is because helps you to evolve faster than before, right? Because before you was waiting for somebody else, another person, to give you the feedback, to give you the help, to give you the answers. Now it's like you have your own word library at your hand, at your disposal, and you just type there, ask, put question, and you have instant the answer, right? And if you do your diligences and you double check, triple check even, and if it's the right thing, you use it, and that's it. Like the normal way we was doing before with Stack Overflow and Google.
That's right. Exactly. It's just a better Stack Overflow in Google in lots of ways. I
Yeah,
do find that I get novel suggestions that take me down rabbit holes and allow me to explore technology that I wouldn't have previously picked up or been exposed to just in chatting with the LLM, or just by saying, instead of being very specific and saying, well, I'm working on this, let's say a Next.js application and it's TypeScript and we're going to be using whatever the framework is. If instead I say, well, suppose today I was going to sit down and build a web page and it was going to have this behavior and talk to a database. What are some of my options? And what are the most common options? And then I'll get like 4 or 5 suggestions. Some of them may be something I've never encountered before, and it's still very concise. It's also very quick these days, I'm finding, to be able to port uh, a function or a functionality between one language to another. So if I want to try it very quickly and say, and this is another reason I'm also a Linux guy. I do all my development on Linux, but I like to be able to say and ask an LLM, oh yeah, I'd like to quickly try to stack. Just give me a bash script that will install it and give me a hello world. There we go. Run that, and now I'm up in like 15 seconds later, I'm ready to experiment. And then I say, well, take this application or this little small page, whatever it might be, and port it to this framework, how you might do that. Spits it out for me. So there, now within like a minute, I've evaluated something that before I would have had to read the complete docs. It didn't really matter if I understood the details on how to install that particular stack right now, because I'm just evaluating. So I feel like I get some performance boost there. Of the models that you're using, what are you enjoying? Which models do you use as your go-to whenever you want to interact with LLMs?
So in my experience, I think is ChatGPT, and I try, but I don't have the hardware at the moment to go with Llama. So to have my own large language model. So I don't rely on those guys because I feed them, we feed them, and they start to do the same mistake, which I see it everywhere. That's why somehow it's a hard word, hate, but I don't like this system of making monopole over the market, and after that you do whatever and you don't care about the devs, the users. You care only for the profit. I hate this system, right?
Right.
And I see the same mistakes they start to implement it here, because they approach it as something open source, and now they start to £20, $20. Now they have 200 and so on, right? I understand the marketing. I understand it's expensive, but I
Oh
think
man,
the greediness.
I'm going to drop in at this point. I'm going to drop in a little comic that I made the other day. And so for a lot of folks, including myself, I'm finding that I'm actually out of a job right now. I was laid off from a company and basically replaced by a vibe coder. There's another version of that story where the CEO said he wanted me to come and work in the office, and I said no. It's not exactly how it went down, but either one of those stories, I really have been working remote for like most of the last 10 years. And so when I was asked to change that, kind of try to Elon Musk me a little bit there, it's like, you come in or you're fired, you're out. And I'm like, well, okay, bye. So there's a little bit of that story, but the reality is though, that the only thing that was left was a vibe coder. So I had to go back out in the job market, and I'm finding it difficult to find a job to replace that job for the first time in my career, because there's always been high demand for my skills. Part of that could be with my age. Part of it could be my salary expectations. Part of it could be my stubbornness of wanting to work remote. But it's a problem. But I'm also seeing this as a problem for a lot of others in the US right now. The competition for the open jobs that you see on places like LinkedIn is like through the roof. You go to click on something, it's like 500 people have already applied for this position today. And when I was hiring at my last position, we put out an ad, and I had over 300 applicants. I couldn't even go through them all because there's just so many of them. It's also interesting to watch those resumes come in. They all kind of look the same. It doesn't really matter who they were. They've all put the same keywords in. It's like so it's a challenging environment. So for any of those unemployed developers out there, what advice would you give them to keep moving and being productive during this time where the job market is not so great?
It's a little bit tricky, because unfortunately we don't have the power of doing like survive and to be our own, right? This is my dream basically, right? To Because this is a dev, it's somebody who creates and put it there for everybody else to share, right?
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be attached only on a job level and that's it, right? And my advice will be never quit. Trust your instinct and you're confident, and find that place where really appreciates you. Because if somebody thinks they can replace a very senior dev with a vibe coder, which he used ChatGPT, because it's a meme now also on the internet regarding those guys. They go to the office and they, after 2 hours, they close the laptop and the senior comes to him and asks him, what are you doing? We still have 8-hour shift to do. And he said, oh, I finished all my tokens of the chat GPT. And I go, right? So it's that not the this is not the way of doing things, right? So I think we should form a strong community and to help each other. And if the market doesn't want us, we build another market.
I like that a lot. So one of the first things I did, and this is very a very me thing to do. I thought, well, I've got this extra time in my hands, and I have all of these software projects that I started that I didn't finish in the past. One of them was a social media site I tried to build like 10 years ago, and then I shopped it to a couple of people, and I didn't really see that, like, we don't need another social media platform. Well, I thought I'm going to pull it back out and like dedicate it to unemployed software developers. It's actually no-job.dev. It's out there right now and live. And I did use LLMs to help me quickly recreate the front end. And one of the concepts I was dealing with when I was in there, I was like, you know what? If these LLMs are making it so easy to duplicate these systems that we see all around us, you know, whatever these software as a service systems are, why don't we just take some of that power back? What if all of the developers, if many developers would come together and say, listen, it's fine. We're going to build, let's take some of that power back from Google and from Meta and from any of the big tech companies, because right now they've got a monopoly on that, right? And the rest of us are just kind of hoping for scraps, working for different little companies, but we're not really we have the skills to actually build what they've built, and we could do that today. So I started thinking about some kind of profit sharing. I've been a big advocate for open source for a long time, and I've actually contributed to open source over the years. Sometimes not in a formal way, like on projects on GitHub, but maybe through blog posts and other kinds of things, also through GitHub. Before GitHub, there were other ways to share your code online. And it was ironic to me that a few corporations were able to suck up all of our knowledge and turn it into something that now could potentially replace us. And so I think the only response to the developers who are making that might have to be to rethink our contributions to open source. Maybe it's not, maybe if we don't need to give it away any longer. Maybe we need to like form communities of developers who say, we're going to have a profit sharing scheme. We're all going to work together. If you can contribute, you can have your percentage of what we're building. So it's kind of not it would be a closed source model, but it would be based upon developers working together to compete against the big companies. But basically also just kind of controlled by the developers. It would just be, I don't know, a community, I guess a commune of types for developers. What do you think the pros and cons to this would be?
No, I'm doing already some of those kind of things.
Yeah.
Because I'm hosting my own server, so I don't pay for the hosting, right? I host my apps in my own server. Let's say the home data center, right?
Right.
So that's one thing where I save lots of money. And I encourage, even in my current position at UBA, I encourage to do our OI. So we don't rely in the future to AWS, for instance, or others cloud services, which they are like very, very expensive. And when you grow, they will become ridiculously expensive. So I think in those days, if you want to survive, it's like the big tech company. They make in a shell. They live in their own ecosystem, right? This is, if they want to share, why we should share with them. It should be something which it's
mutually beneficial.
Yes, it's a common sense thing, right? I provide, you should help me to survive. That's it. It's easy as that. It's not complicated. I think when they reach a level, they forget from where they came and what was the meaning when they created that thing which they have now, right? And I think this is a general problem, because I see it on Amazon, I see it on Tesla now, I see it everywhere. So those gurus now, they was like us one day, and after that they just forget. And why that link broke, I don't understand. Hopefully it will never happen to me, but that mean I will die poor. But i'm I'm hoping will not be that case. So why shouldn't create something, make money to support my life, my family, society around me, but without losing myself and the moral compass, right?
Hmm.
I think this is the missing link, which now is missing all around us. And we can achieve now, because this AIs, they are like, depends how which part of the glass you see it, the full glass or the empty one, right? So I'm going towards the benefits of it. So if I can improve myself, I will use it to improve myself. And if I was invisible until now, maybe with this, because I have like some kind of superpowers, I can be more visible there and create more. And together and together and together, we form a community, right? The people
100%.
is everything basically. The it's not the industry. We create the industry. It's not the other way around.
A lot of developers have had an employee mindset for too long, an employee mindset where they thought, I'll work for the companies and they'll take care of me. But honestly, corporations are out to make money. They're not out to provide you with, whatever lifestyle that you want. And so I don't think that a lot of developers are in a position to think about that they need to do something outside of just being a subservient to the corporation. So I'm hoping that we do find our voice and we find our power and use the skills that we've developed over the years to take some of that power back. I know I sound like a radical, but you're right. If you're soulless and if you don't care about the community and you don't care about how things are affecting people around you, I look at my country, right? We've got Elon Musk slashing jobs to save money while he's the richest man in the world, right? Like if you really, I mean, he's the wealthiest. He has so much more wealth.
Hypocrisy. This is pure hypocrisy.
Yeah. And then even our president, they're like, he'll send out these emails and they're like, yes, please, the billionaire, let's give the billionaire more money. And I'm not sure that's beyond the scope of what I can probably do myself, but I am glad we talked today. And I'm glad we're building a community here. And it's great to talk to you. I'll go ahead and we'll wrap this one up.
I'm totally agree with you, and I think the way of doing things will be to stay together and to be out there, right? Put your voice out, because I think the issue is we have an inside voice. We should have an outside voice, right? Because we if you speak with yourself, nobody will hear you, right? So you need to build up your links and to put your thoughts there on, because are there are a lot of people which are the same like you and thinking like you, but throwing away. Like
Right.
a dev should evolve every day, learn every day, and be strong. That's this is what I apply for myself. I never stop learning. I always learn, and I'm always curious.